We've been telling you guys about omens and how you have to learn to read the signs from the gods of gambling if they're gracious enough to give you one that really should be crystal clear, no matter how you interpret it, so you know definitively what side is going to come out on top, who's going to win a ball game, who's going to win, in this case, the World Series. And we were looking at what appeared to be a clear sign from the gods of gambling that the Los Angeles Dodgers were going to make short work of the New York Yankees in the Fall Classic. As what happens right before the series? Fernando Valenzuela, the most charming character in the history of Dodger baseball, which includes many. Great, illustrious history going all the way back. The great Jackie Robinson breaking in. But Fernando Mania might have eclipsed virtually anything that ever happened in terms of galvanizing Dodger fans and the people that were flocking to the stadium at Chavez Ravine. The entire scatterbrained city all of a sudden was unified in one thing, and that was the glory of Fernando Valenzuela in 1981 and Fernando Mania. So he checks out right before the World Series, and what are you thinking? This is a sign, people. Even if you don't believe heavily in matters of the occult, I think you have to factor it into the equation. And what's transpired since? Flaherty, who was looking like garbage, all of a sudden he throws a gem. Second coming to Sandy Koufax. Yamamoto goes out there. Very suspect. You don't know what you're going to get from the kid. Boom. His strongest performance of the postseason so far by a long way, and giving indications that he's a guy you can come right back to, and he will be dynamite again. And then last night, the Yankees end up losing 4-2. They're getting stymied completely by an assortment of relievers for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I think you have to go back and re-examine if you just whiffed on this one. When Fernando Valenzuela checked out, it was a clear-cut, a very bold sign from the gods of gambling that the Dodgers were the bet. Now, the question was to hedge or not to hedge, and we had that with our friend Dylan Rossi, who had joined us on another show, and I think he might have hedged off. He was the guy that was alive with a ticket for $90,000 on a four-component parlay, all based on championships being won. Had UConn, had the Boston Celtics, had the Florida Panthers, and then the fourth component, the fourth element, was the Dodgers to win the World Series. He was going to win $90,000 on a $100 ticket. I think he did hedge. So still ended up making a score. We all advised him to, and maybe he's regretting listening to anything we had to say about that, because it appears clear-cut that he had a free path, a magic carpet ride to the 90 dimes for his $100 ticket. All right, if you are betting the games, basketball fans, it's that time of the year again. Early season underway in the NBA. NBA is back from the opening tip-off to buzzer beaters. BetOnline has you covered with the best odds, the biggest promotions, and live in-game betting on all your favorite teams. This season, every game matters. BetOnline has every stat, matchup, breakdown, and live odds to bet on during the game itself. You want to hit the button there, you think a guy's going to miss a free throw, boom, you're in. And probably getting a price. And it's not just the NBA. BetOnline has odds on everything from football, the World Series, the NHL, to political props as well. Election day a week away right now. Head to the website today to get in on all the action with America's most trusted site of online wagering. BetOnline. The game starts here. All right, we're going to dial up Scotty M for his Tuesday appearance. We did pretty well last week here on the show. Our three handicappers that we featured last week went a combined 8-4. Scotty M went out on a little bit of a ledge there and picked 5 games for us last week. He was in 5 games last week, including continuing to ride the magic carpet with his Indiana Hoosier football team, which easily covered the point spread in the game that he handicapped for us, and managed to account once again for a very profitable day. We welcome to the show one of our favorite guys here, Scotty M. Scotty, how are you, my friend?
What's up, Defo? How you doing? What about this World Series? It's not even. It looks like a sleeper series to me.
I believe, and I don't know if I ran this by you. I think I did with Troy and the professor and so many other guys we've had on the show. Whether they were believers in matters of the occult. Troy West kind of shot that down and said, well, no, I'm a numbers guy. This is bullshit, DeForest. Whatever you're talking about, you're making shit up. But I thought, and I know you may be inclined, like I am, to delve into matters of things that we don't understand, right? And superstitions and things like that. If I ran into a guy named Wheelchair John at the track, I just walked right out. Even though he was a really good guy, if he touched me, if he made contact with me, I never cashed a ticket from that point on. I don't know if you have any superstitions like that in your gambling, but
No,
are you like Wade Boggs? Do you eat chicken every Sunday, no matter what, because you want your NFL bets to cash? Do you believe in any of that stuff? Because I thought when Fernando Valenzuela checked out, it was like a ray of sunshine. They just put an aura over the Dodgers that was going to prove to be invincible, and so far that's been the case.
well, unfortunately, my little ticket here betting the Yankees for just $1,000 to
All
win the
right.
series. I'm getting ready to rip it. Pretty much
Yeah.
going to be ripped in probably 1,000 pieces. Oh,
What, were you ready to just eat that thing when you saw the moves made by Aaron Boone? All of the Boonies, the anti-Boonies, are. I mean, they were screaming about that game number one in the World Series.
well, I got some guys that die hard that work for me in my office, and unfortunately, they're big, big. You can't get bigger than them. They come in with all the gear, hats, the outfits, the sweatpants, all Yankees, Yankees. So I went along for the ride. I thought the Yankees would get to the World Series a long time ago before the playoffs, even started. So I went for the ride with the Yankees, but just too outclassed, to be honest. This Freddie Freeman is in another planet. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. This guy is just so clutch. Five straight World Series games, three with the Dodgers, I guess the two with the Braves prior. Home run in his last five straight games in the World Series. Three in a row this year. I mean, unbelievable what he's doing. And he's carrying that team. I mean, between Betts, Otani, Freddie Freeman, all the cast, and the pitching. I mean, they're just making all the right moves, and all of a sudden the Yankees, the Bronx Bombers, whatever you want to call them, they just went fizzled out. They're nowhere to be found.
This isn't a series, and this is what happened, Scotty. I firmly believe this now, maybe more so than ever. And people might think I'm out of my mind, some kind of deranged lunatic. But as soon as Fernando checked out 2 days before the series, look what's happened. Here's another sign from the gods of gambling. I believe, and Vince Scully was famous for saying, it's 8:32, and Kirk Gibson has just hit a 3-run homer. So the precise time, I believe, that Freeman hit the big home run, the grand salami to end game number one, at that exact time, what was the same time that Kirk Gibson hit his walk-off home run in that classic moment in a Dodger series. I think that was that not a game one of the series? And at the same time, like 8:32 Pacific time, this is when it happened. Too many signs are lining up that this game is out of the hands. I mean, you can have all the Bill James stats you want and analyze this thing. It's completely being decided by matters of the occult. I believe that. So unfortunate that you got snake bit by this for your dime. Are those the same guys that are always your guys from your office that are posing as quasi Philadelphia mobsters in the corner of the Borgata Sportsbook in Atlantic City? Every time I go, there's always a bunch of guys in the sweatsuits with the Yankee garb on.
I'm telling you, these guys are so diehard. Even like Rangers, Giants, Yankees. But you go to their house on the couch. They got all the stuff laid out. If it's a Rangers game, jerseys on the couch. You can't get near enough. It's just crazy. They're just so diehard. But unfortunately, getting close.
Yeah, that was a dull effort last night too. That was one of those things where the jockey tips you off on a horse. And then he breaks last, and you're thinking, well, that's not a good sign. And as they get to the turn, you're looking, and you're thinking, well, maybe you'll start to make a little bit of a move. Nothing, just dead flat. Finishes behind everybody, and you just never get any kind of a shake for your money.
You've had those too? I mean, I've had.
I've made a lifetime of them. What are you talking about?
Be telling me, oh, you bet on me on this race. This one is all about me winning. Okay, so Scotty M, what does he do? He runs to the windows, he plunges it down, nowhere to be found, like you said. Where's the horse? And the next race, they win. So they.
Yeah, especially when nothing was said. Yeah, no, we've been dealing with this quite frequently of late. A friend of mine and I were friendly with a certain jockey, and every horse he gives us runs dead last. And we're thinking, what is he trying to do? Is he working with the government to try and discourage gambling? I'm not sure, but whatever it is, we've learned to ignore his tips, and all we send him now is my classic response to virtually everybody that proposes anything to me in a text, LMN, which of course is the symbol for lose my number. which that's what you want the guy to do. All right, we're going to get into some numbers and some stuff. Are you diving into any NBA? Too early to get a read? What do you think, Scotty M?
Well, it's funny you say that because last night I jumped on Cleveland. I took the +3 against the Knicks, 4-0 so far for the Cavs, so they're looking pretty good out of the box. Obviously, 78 games to go, but right now, three undefeateds. We got the Celtics, which is rolling. I had them actually as my free play on social media on TikTok last night, so I had a good night last night. I had the two out of the three remaining undefeateds. Used the selections last night, so I had Boston, and they keep rolling. It seems like they're going to have another huge season. I don't know who's going to knock them off in the East. The Knicks are, sluggish at best right now, 1-2 coming out of the gates. Yeah, I'm looking at basketball. I mean, I'm looking at my spots. Like I said, I don't really dive into it too heavily until I see more games under the radar because, again, you're trying to get a gauge right now, see how these teams are moving and grooving. The Lakers lost their first game last night, but that was expected. That was a rematch of a game the other night. The Phoenix had a 22-point lead in that game and gave it up. I actually had a play on Phoenix that night. Thought I was cashing a ticket, up 22 in the first half. Basically gave the lead away before they went to halftime, dropped it down to like 6, and got blown out in the second half. But I like basketball. I think there's opportunities out there, Defo, to be honest with you, with the numbers right now. You could take advantage, like Cleveland last night. That number, if the Knicks were right, I would have felt, even though the Knicks, Cleveland was 3-0, the Knicks were 1-1 going into the game. Knicks at home should have been a solid 3.5. They made it 2.5. That line really never went anywhere from 2.5. I just saw the value of the Cavs in that game based on the numbers, the way I calculate things, and speaking to the people I speak to, we just thought the Cavs had a shot in that game. So to answer your question, good money to be made. Got to pick your spots, guys. Too many things going on out there just to jump in to jump in.
Holy Hubie Brown, man. That was good analysis there, Scotty. I'm especially just judging and engaging it by the number that was being posted. But good stuff. Yeah, it doesn't seem like the Knicks, if you saw them in that first game against Boston, I mean, I thought they would be bloodthirsty in that ball game to demonstrate that, hey, the Towns trade was going to be significant enough for us to run you right out of your own fucking building. Right. After you're on a chicken circuit all year long, all off season, celebrating, and well, we don't know what it's going to be this year. Were you really all that good? And then instead of they don't like our horses we were talking about. They don't even raise a gallop in that ball game and end up folding up like a cheap tent. But unbelievable, how tough it can be to gauge certain things, and yet you're making scores. So that's good. Hockey also, a lot of people are plugged into certain teams early in the season and seem to be off to a good start. Anybody that's back in Calgary is making all kinds of cash because they were anticipated to be bottom dwellers, and they got off to an undefeated start there, won their first 4 or 5 games, I believe. So you might be able to go in a different direction than we commonly have done, because here we are at the highlight of the football season, Scotty M. So I'm going to let you take the stage here and give the people some selections. Last week, 3-2 with Scotty M. He scored with Indiana. You hit that over in the NFL game. Kind of got busted up a little bit because that's a frustrating situation. The guy makes the right play, the Green Bay guy who slides down at the 1-yard line so they can eat up the rest of the clock. You do run the risk that if the guy misses the field goal, a bad snap, or a block kick, all of a sudden you look like an asshole because you could have run it in for the touchdown. And for those of us that were back in Green Bay in that ball game, could have helped us cover a point spread. But
that's another thing because I'm a numbers guy, and when we do the show, we do it many days in advance. Obviously, we're doing these shows 4 or 5 days before the games. But that line actually dropped down about 3.5 on Green Bay. I would have made it 2.5. I wouldn't leave anything on it. So Green Bay could have been a nice win. For my private players that I worked with, I did give that game out at 2.5 on Green Bay for Sunday. So I did eke out that win on that.
Oh, nice. All right.
But I got some good games this week. I'm ready.
Okay.
Ready to rumble?
Yeah. Let's get to them.
All right. You're not going to like this one, unfortunately. Your alma mater I'm going against this week. I'm jumping on Virginia Tech. The Hokies are just playing right now. They're moving on that level that I like to see. They won their last 3 straight games in a row. They're showing up on offense. They're showing up on defense. Syracuse just got crushed last week. So many mistakes against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh just destroyed them. I'm just thinking that Virginia Tech, they're making them a 4-point favorite on the road against Syracuse, which is kind of hard for me to believe that they'd be a 4-point favorite spot. I think somebody's reaching out to
Yeah, yeah. It's another one of my friends named Scam Likely.
jockey.
Yeah, it's a jockey with a tip. All
And
right, you were saying. Sorry
yes,
about that.
like Virginia Tech in this spot, bringing the line down to -3. I just think they're the right situation right now. I think they're peaking right now. Syracuse might flatline a little bit for the next few games. Got off to a great start at 5-1. Got crushed last week. This line is very respectable for Virginia Tech. To be honest, I would think Syracuse in this game in this situation would have been a small little favorite or even a pick'em type game. They're making this a solid 4. I'm bringing it down to 3. I like the Hokies to roll in this game. I think they win by at least 7 to 14 points.
It's funny you should mention Syracuse here, of course, my alma mater. And I think back to how pleasant it was being there when I go on my walk of life here up at A1A in the Fort Lauderdale area of South Florida. Uh, and yet, I mean, I gave him out last week. Mike Jones somehow didn't connect with us on Thursday, so I felt compelled to give out a pick. And you can never select games under those circumstances. I'm looking at Syracuse, and they were getting 5.5 from Pittsburgh. I hadn't seen much of Pittsburgh. I know they were undefeated. You're saying this about a lot of teams in college football. They haven't really played anybody. And that's true of a lot of teams that are up there in the hierarchy in the top 20 in college football. You look at the opponents, it's pretty cheesy resume. So I recommend that people go ahead and bet out on Syracuse 5 and a hook. And what happened? First quarter, the guy throws 2 pick sixes. Among the 3 interceptions that he had in the first quarter, 5 overall, 3 for 21 points, and never in it. It was one of those games, once again, where you just took a knife right in the back, right at the shoot. So
Yeah.
I'm with you. They looked so bad in that game, Scotty M, that I'm buying your legitimate case here for Virginia Tech laying 4 points against Cuse on the road.
Yeah, I just think right now, like I said, I'm looking for teams that are peaking. I'm looking for teams that are playing smart ball on both sides. They're scoring points. Virginia Tech, their defense showed up their last 3, and they're 5-3. Syracuse 5-2. But I just think they're a stronger team right now. I just think that they're going to come in mentally better, prepared for the game on a high. Syracuse, like you said, a lot of mistakes last week. Could be on a low coming into the game. Yeah, they want to bounce back, obviously, but too much firepower. Take the Hokies, guys, -3. And
All
I got
right.
another
Sounds
one.
good. Yeah, fire away.
This is a game that's making me scratch my head a little bit. You got 2 teams here. This is a Big 12 matchup between USC and Washington. They're making USC a 2.5 point favorite on the road. This is a team that's 0-3 on the road this year. They're not playing well. They beat Rutgers last week, okay, pretty handily, but that game was tight until the fourth quarter. Then they opened it up a couple of touchdowns. Washington coming off the road, like I told you, they're an up and down team. I told you that last week against Indiana. I didn't think they'd have the firepower to stay with a team like Indiana on the road. Now they're coming home. They play much better at home. They're actually a 4-1 team at home this year. They're a dog in this situation against a team that has not won on the road. They're playing much better at home, coming off 2 road big losses in a row against Indiana and Iowa. I like the dog in this game. I mean, I don't even know why they're a dog. I'm going to take Washington. I'm going to bring them up to 3.5. I think it's a gift. USC's no world beater. They're 4-4. Washington's 4-4 too. But I think that home field, and I think the 2 losses on the road coming home going to spark them a little bit. I look for a good performance from Washington as a live dog to win this game.
All right, Trojans going down at Washington. Washington getting 2.5 at home to USC, who easily covered last week in the end and ran away in the final moments of that ball game. But nonetheless, Scotty M saying, "Hey, forget about that. Forget about it, and
So
go ahead and put your money on Washington."
+3, I would get that line too. I wouldn't leave it on a 2.5.
Okay, all right, getting a field goal there from USC. Anything else strike your fancy there, Scotty M?
Actually, a couple of games I was looking at, Defo, a lot of injuries around them. The big matchup, obviously, the Big Ten game that everyone's talking about is the number 3, number 4 teams in the nation going at each other. Ohio State against Penn State. Ohio State coming off the bye week, losing that tough game, obviously, to Oregon. Penn State undefeated, but their starting quarterback, I think, is not going to play in this game, even though their backup, held his own last week. I really like this game if all the pieces were there. I think the dog is alive in this game, but being the fact that the quarterback's out, and you're playing against a team that's coming off a brutal loss against the number one team in the nation, which they could have been Ohio State, the number one team, if they won the game. So I'm going to make a light play on Penn State at home, just because of the fact that I feel that they're just playing so well, and Ohio State can be beat. We saw that against Oregon. So light play on Penn State +4 in this game against Ohio State, and then I'm going right to the NFL.
Good. We're home teams were big last week in the NFL. I think 10-5 against the spread. So we've seen some weeks where bookies were getting annihilated, and we've seen the reverse, of course. There are a couple of teams, and we know that the NFL, we talk about it all the time. Jerry Glanville was right, not for long, but things happen in streaks. Denver's been a good play the last several weeks. They're getting a bunch of points here in their matchup. I think they played the Ravens and might be getting double digits, which is kind of interesting, especially coming off that loss. I believe that's right. Ravens going against, the Broncos. Line down to 9. They have to go on the road. But, and any bet against Carolina seems to be a worthwhile play. So where are we heading, Scotty M?
Well, I'm going to go with a team that I had last week. I had a good week last week. I had the over in the Philadelphia-Cincinnati total, obviously, and I had a small play later in the week. Obviously, we do these shows very early, as I mentioned. But I like Philadelphia at home. I think they roll. They've won their last 3 straight games in a row since they had a bye week. This Jacksonville team is not good on the road this year. 0-4, on the road. They're finding ways to lose games instead of winning games. The Eagles right now are playing much better. Defense, offensively, I think they put one of those showcase games together. This is the perfect opponent to do it against. The line's only 6.5. I mean, it's a respectable line because Jacksonville's still getting a little respect because they thought they'd have a much better season. Obviously, they're not having the season they expected to have. But I like Philadelphia at home. I bring this line down right around 6. Lock it in at 6 because, like I said, we do these things way in advance. So I would make Philly -6 at home. I think the Eagles keep flying high and finding ways to win. And I think they take care of Jacksonville by a good margin in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win by anywhere from 10 to 16 points in this game outright. Easy, Philly.
All right, going with Philadelphia. For the uninitiated, when you say bring that line down to 6, by what means? By searching for the best price? By
No.
paying some fig?
Let me explain to you. All the options now with, obviously legalized sports betting and online things, everyone can alternate spreads. There's a section where you can alternate. And you pay a little more. Sometimes you got to pay, if the line's 110, you might have to lay 120. But at the end of the day, if you're consistently doing a good job, that extra juice difference really doesn't come into play because you're still making profits and you're profitable. So I like to buy numbers down on certain situations. And on this game here, like I said, 6 and a hook. I mean, I'd rather just be on a flat 6, pay $1.20 instead of $1.10, and all you got to do, guys, is go on when you're on either FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever book you're on. Just go to alternate spreads, gives you the options. You can even buy it lower if you want to pay. Let's say if you wanted to even go to 4.5. I'm just saying, you probably pay lay 160 or 165, but you could bring the lines down to a better option for yourself.
It's funny how it's changed, huh?
Yeah.
From the days I used to run into some guy in an alley with a pork pie hat, and he'd say, who do you like? And that was it. That was the only betting option, was to pick a team.
We never had the options in our day.
Yeah. Now you're buying points down, laying more juice, or whatever. And, of course, BetOnline makes all of those offers available to you as well. All right, you want to finish it off? You're going for a 5-bagger here today, Scotty M? You're rounding third, heading for home.
I'm going for a 5-bagger on the lake. I like this game. I hate to go against the team that I've been using and doing well with, but I don't think anyone's stopping the freight train of this Detroit Lions team right now. They are just on cruise control. They are they're putting up 50 like it's nothing. Green Bay, as good as they are, and they're playing well. They won 4 straight games in a row. Detroit's won 5 straight games in a row. Detroit's playing great on the road, 3-0 this year. I like Detroit in this matchup. As good as I hate to go against Jordan Love. I know he's banged up. I'm not sure what the exact, if he's playing or not playing. They're showing he's going to play. But I think Detroit, no matter if he plays or doesn't play, they'll find ways to cause a turnover or two. And that's what they've been doing. They've been finding ways not only to score a lot of points, but mistakes from their opponents that they're capitalizing, getting more possessions, which is scoring all these points for them. So I like Detroit. I like this. It's 3.5. Here's a perfect example for me. On the road, don't really like laying favorites on the road if I don't have to, but I do like this matchup. I'm bringing this game down to 2.5. I am going to pay the extra difference. I like Detroit, keep it under a field goal at -2.5. I think they continue their winning ways. They are the strongest team in that conference. There's no doubt about it. Green Bay a little bit right behind them, and then Minnesota. But I like Detroit to continue their winning ways. They look unstoppable at this point until they run into a real brick wall.
A lot of mathematics involved in all of this, Scotty Mac. I mean, you're like Will Hunting and Good Will Hunting, the way you're explaining these things and bringing the lines down and playing the extra juice. All good stuff. All right. Thanks so much, Scotty Mac. I'm Scotty M. Scotty Mac. Scotty M. For being with us here on the show. Another distraction there, but very unfortunate. Always a pleasure. How do people follow you? You always put out good stuff. You're offering all of this stuff here on Bury Your Bookie for free. It's good, and you've had a winning record, I believe, every week that we've been doing this. So that's fantastic. A 5-bagger today. If people want to find out more about what your selections are all about and get deeper into it, how do they do it?
Yeah, guys, listen up. Remember, we do these shows early. There's a lot of things that happen throughout the week. I'm doing my work each and every day, long hours, 14, 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's what I'm committed to doing. It's football season. It's NBA. It's hockey. This is the time of year to build that bankroll up. If you want to check out things, come right to my official TikTok page and see the videos we put out. I mean, we don't put stuff up after the fact. We put the stuff up before the fact. Check out our record. We're consistent. And if you're looking for, if you're a more serious player looking to get in touch with me, just shoot me a message and I'll respond back to you personally. It's my official TikTok page is SM Picks, Picks. That's all you need to know. Go to my TikTok, check out all the stuff we put out, free stuff all the time.
Always great. Scotty M., good luck with all your plays. Thanks so much for joining us here on the show. And don't forget, sometimes you just have to drift away from all of the mathematics and the Pythagorean theorem and go with matters of the occult. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you very much. Scotty M., ladies and gentlemen, does a great job for us. And his selections, again, he likes Virginia Tech. They're laying 4 against Syracuse. Disaster of a pick by me last week here on the program. The stench is still hovering over the broadcast site here. He likes Washington getting 2 in a hook from what he thinks is an overrated USC team going on the road against Washington. He does like Penn State small taste against Ohio State, although managed to make a little bit of a case for both teams there. He likes Philadelphia over Jacksonville. Philadelphia appears to be finding their stride. And Detroit looks like a juggernaut all of a sudden again, which we thought they might be coming into the season. Got off to a little bit of a slow start. And he likes them over the Packers, who have been very favorable to the Degenerates in spite of the fact. Now, he went and paid the extra juice and got that game under a field goal. I don't know. That's the kind of thing that you're figuring is not in the long run going to be favorable. But when you're laying points, what we see what kind of torture can be. And there were a lot of people that had Green Bay at 3.5 last week. And a guy slides down before he goes into the end zone. He's rolling in for what will be a spread-beating score. Would have left time on the clock. It was a right move from a football standpoint, but just literally, I mean, a sword of Damocles for those that trusted the Green Bay Packers. All right, World Series could come to an end tonight. Yankees and the Dodgers. The Dodgers have been invincible so far in the World Series. The Yankees have not been able to offer up much. Aaron Judge just in a diabolical slump. But think about it. Really, it all goes back. I don't know what else you can attribute this to. And I don't know that it could be. You don't need forensic evidence on it. When Fernando Valenzuela checked out 2 days before the series, we should have just been sending it in. We suggested this, but I don't think we had the balls to do it. Sending it in on the Los Angeles Dodgers, knowing that there was no way that the Yankees' fate had already been sealed by the gods of gambling. All right, hopefully you guys are going to be on the right side of things. We'll have Troy West with us tomorrow. He's been doing great for us. Basically a 2-1 every week, except 1 week he swept. So well ahead of the curve there, even if you're paying high juice to buy a couple of half points. So we'll have Troy with us tomorrow. Mike Jones on Thursday, and the professor who bounced back with a nice week, going 3-1 last week. And some solid picks and sound logic. He'll be joining us on Friday. All right, see you next time. Thanks so much for joining us here on today's edition of Bury Your Bookie.